Hey, everybody, welcome to today's episode of This Fat Girl Life. Today, I am joined by Jen Anderson, who is such an amazing lady. You guys are going to get to experience her infectious attitude here momentarily. But real quick, if you have enjoyed any of these episodes throughout this year and you want to see more and you want to be a part of this, please do me a favor. Go over to buymeacoffee.com/, this fat girl life. That is where you find out everything new coming up. That is the first place that I post my new guided journals that I have. And by being a member, you get those for free. You don't have to pay for them, they're included in the membership. So all you have to do for any of it, you could go, you could check it out, you could read it. But if you want to support it, literally buying a cup of coffee for me is $5. You cannot even buy a cup of Starbucks for that. So buymeacoffee.com/, this fat girl life. Jen, thank you so much for being here and for being willing to reschedule. I know we had you set for last month and I got the Rona, which is why I am now on oxygen. So I so appreciate your willingness to work around schedules with me.
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's funny that I've done a couple. There have been a couple of podcast appointments I've had that I completely spaced on, and the hosts of that were like, "It's fine. We can reschedule. It happens." And I'm, as a recovering perfectionist, to think that, oh, okay, someone can completely forgive me. I was totally rude, and they're totally okay with that. They're fine. They have forgiven me. They're not upset. It just takes such a load off. So now it's like, you were sick. Fine. I get migraines. It's fine.
Well, you kind of keyed in on one of the words of what we're discussing today. Today we are going to be talking about toxic perfectionism. Now, a lot of people don't know what that means, so we're going to discuss what toxic perfectionism is, how to really identify it, not only in yourself, but in others, and how it's really connected to that internalized fat phobia. And before we really get into that, I want to make sure everybody's aware of what fat phobia really is. Fat phobia is defined as an irrational fear of, an aversion to, or a discrimination against obesity or people with obesity. So, fat phobia is a real thing. I think many plus size men and women have dealt with it in one way, shape, and or form. But let's get into the toxic perfectionism side of that. So before we start doing that, Jen, tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and then I really want you to kind of hone in on what toxic perfectionism is.
Sure. Okay. So I am Jen Anderson. I'm a freelance writer. I write about plus size clothing for different businesses. And also, I am the accomplice in chief of a little business called Accomplished that is morphed right now into a coaching business. It's helping people to let go of perfectionism. There will be an app. It was originally started as an app. There will be an app eventually, but not yet. There's one thing that can really help you break free of perfectionism is starting a business, because nothing will go the way you think it will, and you just have to learn to live with it. Yes. So the difference between toxic perfectionism and what other people call a good perfectionism, I call it perfectionism versus pursuing excellence. But that toxic type of perfectionism is when it's just holding you back. Nothing is ever good enough. That you can't start a project, you can't keep working on a project, you can't finish a project, whatever it is. And there's always, oh yeah, but for me, it's always, oh yeah, but the migraines. Yes, so I also have good days, and if I have to reschedule with people, it's okay, and it's fine. It's just something that I've had to learn that even me, I was having, giving myself excuses. It's I can't start working on writing this novel because I haven't read 10 books about story structure. Something like that. Oh, I can't work on the novel because I only have like 10 minutes to work on it. I only have 15 minutes to work on it. And I can only work on it if I have total quiet in an hour. But really, people write on their phones in the back of an Uber if need be.
Okay, I
And
gotta say, I'm feeling personally attacked. I'm feeling victimized here because you just called me out without even knowing you were doing it.
oh, I just called myself out too.
No, I mean, like seriously, the example you just gave. For years, I've been saying I want to write a book, and it's always been I don't have the time. I haven't studied this area enough. Am I really qualified?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of
So
imposter syndrome there. But here's the thing, though, is that especially with writing something, fiction, nonfiction, whatever, we're not chiseling words into a stone. Even if you handwrite it and have to type it in, which is an effort that I used to make, it can be changed. You can't edit a blank page. And the novel, my current novel in progress, which I put aside so that I can work on Accomplished, um, it started with just some thoughts, some daydreams. I wrote them out, and they are awful. But it taught me, I knew what I didn't know. There's a character in there who uses a wheelchair, who has paralysis, and so writing that, I realized, okay, well, that's stupid. No human being would actually react that way. And this is where I have to go educate myself now. So it's not wasted. That's the thing also, is the thought that, oh, I can't do writing exercises. It has to be, good to go. It has to be for public consumption. No, that does not have to be at all. And of course, perfectionism keeps you from finishing because it's never good enough. And of course, not, there is a line there between, knowing that the book isn't there yet and having perfectionism. And fortunately, I think, I have a completed novel in terms of there's a beginning, middle, and an end. But it's not there yet. It needs me to rip it apart and put it back together, and I'll get to that at some point. And it's not perfectionism. It's a matter of, I know what it takes. I know it's not good enough yet. But
I haven't typed the first word yet, but I do have it in my head as
mhm,
far as I've started making decisions on it. And
mhm.
actually, I'm actually putting this out there. This is anybody who's watching this. You are the first in the know right now. Like normally, it goes to buy me a coffee, but y'all are getting the tea right now. I am starting the process of writing my first book. That's not just like a little 10-page guided journal. This is actually a book about the lies that we tell ourselves.
That's
So
fantastic.
you're going to want to keep an eye out because it's coming.
Yes,
That is the
absolutely.
announcement. Now that I've made that, I'm committed to doing it.
Yes, and one thing that helped me a little bit is getting a cute notebook. You always have these cute notebooks, and you can never use them. They're too good. Use them, especially if they have a hardback, because then you can just put it on the arm of the couch or whatever, and it's easier to write on the go. And just scribble out whatever. And for me, it just helps the daydreams get out. And for you, I'm sure that it has been bouncing around in your head and popping up when you need to be focusing on something else.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I'm actually going to take some of this time because I am off work. I work a 9 to 5 on top of doing all this, and I can't do it right now because of the oxygen, because of COVID. I have been in respiratory failure. So, like, I'll do this episode and then I won't be able to talk the rest of the day
Mm-hmm.
because it gets all messed up. So, I'm taking this downtime and I'm starting my book.
Good.
I'm putting my downtime to use.
Yes.
But let's get back into, we kind of, rabbit trailed. Let's get back into how do we see toxic. We know we've talked about how we see it in ourselves that I can't because this isn't right because. But how do we see that in other people?
It's there is usually just a gut discomfort. It can be where they're saying, "Oh, well, I can't. Well, I'm stuck. I don't know." So they're being perfectionist towards themselves. If they're being perfectionist towards you, that if you feel attacked, it can usually be fairly hostile. If it's in someone else, It's pretty obvious. You're like, oh, I can't work on that because I'm not studied enough. Don't be ridiculous. I think you're perfectly capable of doing this. But oh wait, I keep saying almost the same thing. So it's usually, people just it's the I can'ts or I'm stuck.
Now, we mentioned earlier about how, this toxic perfectionism is oftentimes connected to internalized fat phobia. And I think we hear that in other ways of hurt people.
Mhm.
People who are hurting, who are finding flaws within themselves, rather than focus on those flaws, are going to focus on something else
Right.
and
And
draw that
it's
attention away.
right. And we focus, we do it to ourselves. And the thing is, even thinner women, there's this whole cliche that, the one who just has to lose 5 pounds and she'll be perfect. She's more obnoxious and more caught up in diet culture than anyone else. And there's a reason for that. It is perfectionism. There is this perfect ideal that, lingerie model, essentially. And most people aren't. There aren't even supermodels anymore. There's just, a handful of model celebrities are now the models on covers of magazines and stuff. Um, so it's because I don't fit that ideal. So something must be wrong with me. And I'm not good enough. And if you feel not good enough and then someone treats you poorly, then you think, oh, well, I get it. And like, lucky for me, I once went to a doctor and I'd fallen and hurt my knee. And he said, well, all women your age have bad knees. You need to lose some weight. And because I knew better, I went straight to an orthopedist instead. And I fired him as my doctor. But for other people, would have gone on a diet when actually I fell and injured myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that kind of thing. It's like, I'm not perfect. I have to be up to a certain level. It's this magical thinking where we think, if I weighed only X, then I would be worthy. I would be worthy of respect, worthy of love. I would be able to go online. I would be able to take selfies. And it just holds us back so much, is just because we don't fit that ideal. And one thing with selfies, I was playing around the other day and I discovered, looking up, with the camera up here, I was like, oh, I look actually just like some of my friends on Facebook who are around my age. And then for experiment, I took a picture like this, and yeah, it was double chinny, but it looked more like me. Is the thing. So
Yep.
it's this thing that we have programmed in, that I have to have a flattering angle.
Yes. Yes, I actually hear that a lot from my daughter. I've got a 23-year-old who comments on, "Oh, that's not at the right angle. Oh, that's not the right lighting." No, it may not be the right angle or the right lighting, but it's the real me.
Right.
And that's something that even myself, it took me 35 years to get to the point where I'm at. I mean, I am sitting here, absolutely no makeup. My hair is in, ooh, a somewhat crooked bun. Let's correct that at
Mhm.
least. But, and I'm sitting here with oxygen tubing on. 10 years ago, I would not be willing to do that.
Yeah.
Now, and it took work. This did not happen overnight. It wasn't just like an aha moment, because those don't exist,
Right.
or at least not normally.
Hmm.
Occasionally we have aha moments.
Right.
This is not one.
Yeah.
But it took a really long time and a lot of work internally to get to a point where I could just say, you know what? This is me. Take it or leave it. And now I can do that. And for a long time, there was that internalized fat phobia of, every time I looked in the mirror, I was like, oh God, I'm fat. And now, I still have I'm fat days.
Hmm.
I don't care who you are, how long you've been in the body positivity or fat activism. I don't care how long you've been part of it. You have those moments
Yes.
where you look in the mirror and you're like, oh God, not today. Not today, Jesus, not today.
Right.
I have them. But especially, I'm going to say, with being as sick as I was, I pretty much spent a month living in my pajamas, unable to leave my house, stuck with myself. My husband was here, but I couldn't be around anybody else.
Mhm.
You get really comfortable with yourself.
You get
If
used
that
to
is
it.
the only thing that COVID does that's positive, is you learn how to really be comfortable with yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm to a point of, this is me. I'm not going
Yeah.
to put on a show to try to be what I'm not. And I think that's what a lot of like working for the perfect angle and lighting is. It's not real. The models on the covers of magazines are not, even pictures on Instagram. That is not real. That is edited.
Mhm.
And that's what people tend to forget.
Yes, and I actually built sort of a resentment because of that. Like, friends from high school or college posting on Facebook about how proud they are of their teenagers. And I'm like, please, your son, you're making your son sound perfect. I'm like, no, they're extolling, they're celebrating the fact that their kids are doing all these great things despite being teenagers.
Hmm.
So that's all me bringing it to the table, not them.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. And I think that, in fact, I'm going to issue a challenge. Jen, you know how I love a challenge. You've been on my other shows. You know how I love a challenge. So today's challenge, and I'm going to do it shortly after this episode. I want everybody to post a selfie, not at the perfect flattering angle, not with the perfect lighting. You may not even be wearing a bra for all I care, but just put it out there. You right now. I want to see it. So that is today's challenge, is to post the real you. And we're going to do it in a comment thread. I'm going to make a little screenshot. We're going to do it in a comment thread to where you're not having to put it out there to the whole world, just to the people who are on the page. But that's my challenge, because I want to see the real you. I want to see the perfectly imperfect you. Because,
What
in
makes you
my opinion, that's where the perfectionism is in the imperfections.
right? It's the differences, the so-called flaws, are what make you look like you. No one likes you for the parts of your life where you're perfect. People like you because you're imperfect. People hate perfect people.
Yeah, they really do. And honestly, in those flaws, that's where some of the most beautiful qualities are. Because those flaws teach you how to be resilient, they teach you how to be empathetic and compassionate. So that's what I want to see, is those imperfections, because I want to see the beauty.
Absolutely. Great challenge. I'm going to do it.
Okay. Well, Jen, I want to thank you for coming on and having this conversation. I think, honestly, this was the last episode of season one. And I think it was a perfect way to end season one, especially with the upcoming holiday. During the holiday season, we get mired down with a whole lot of fat phobic comments. Bigger women, bigger men, you hear it. And people may think they're being good intentioned when they say those things. When you hear from Grandma Jean that you would be so pretty if you
Mhm.
lost 10 pounds. Or, you look so good like that at your size. You may be hearing comments at the dinner table of, so when are you going to get married? Or when are you going to have a baby?
Or, oh, the diet starts Monday. That
Oh
drives
my
me
God.
crazy. Someone worked all day to make you a nice meal, and what you say is, "Oh, the diet starts Monday." Like, oh, and I shouldn't be eating this. Just enjoy it. Don't insult the stuffing.
Well, and you're going to have that at New Year's.
Mhm.
Those New Year's resolutions of I'm going to be, I'm going to lose 50 pounds this year, blah, 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 blah. Don't.
And the problem with New Year's resolutions is that we think it's again magical thinking. We think that we're fixing ourselves, and so we're starting from a place of disliking ourselves, and that
Hmm.
really gets in the way of momentum. If you come at it from the point of view that you're fine, because you're fine. Maybe your schedule could use a little tweaking, maybe your habits could be a little different, but you're fine. There is no emerald city of perfection that you could possibly reach. And you're fine. You're you. And
Hmm.
don't think about changing yourself because you're not changing yourself. You're maybe educating yourself, you're maybe changing some habits. That's okay. But when you approach it from, I'm not good enough, it's awful. And someone just knocked on my door. I hope it's just a package delivery.
I know. This whole time I've been like, please don't ring my doorbell if you come by Amazon because I've got Amazon, UPS, FedEx,
Mhm.
all of them coming by constantly. Because with as sick as I've been, I haven't been out shopping a whole lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been. My dogs will go crazy if they ring the doorbell.
Yes. And yeah, our UPS guy will just knock on his way past, but they'll knock so loud. It's just like, I'm like, who is that? And they're
They knock
gone.
like they're the police, right?
Mhm. Plus the
Oh my
screen door. It makes a lot of noise.
god. But to get back to what we were saying,
Yes.
what I am going to recommend is if you are wanting to work on something, one, come from a place within. Because if you're solely focused on losing 50 pounds and you are beating yourself up over those 50 pounds, then that 50 pounds is not going to make a difference because you're going to lose it and it's still not going to be enough. So come from a place of within. I highly recommend, and this could be just because I am one, but I highly recommend working with a coach, be it a fitness coach, be it a life coach, be it a therapist. Have somebody there to walk you through it because it's not just a weight loss game. It's it's a full package. It's a package deal. So have somebody there to walk alongside of you. It's not a bad thing to want to lose weight or, to want to live a healthier lifestyle. Those are not bad things. I am not saying that in any way, shape, and or form, but do it from a healthy place. That is very important. That being said, you guys, I have so enjoyed getting to have all of the wonderful conversations that I got to have during 2021. The new season starts January 9th. I am going to be bringing on amazing guests. And next season, we're really going to focus on a place of knowing your worth. That will be the entire focus of season two is knowing your worth and your value. So definitely you're going to want to tune in. Like I said earlier, there is a book coming. Don't know when it's going to be, coming out, but it is started. It is in the process. So that is happening. Jen, what do you have coming up?
Coming up, I'm actually launching a course in the new year. Yes, it's a little video class. Right now, I have a little video class, like a workshop on how to manage your to-do list in a way that doesn't trigger your perfectionism, and you can just use that in concert with whatever system you have. And the big class, the big course, I'm going to be launching. The name so far is "Get It Done Without Perfectionism," and it's about productivity and how we get overwhelmed and with all these projects. And even if you're not writing, there's different kinds of projects where you just get paralyzed because you're overwhelmed. And it's because I don't
Mhm.
perfectly understand this. You stop moving when you're overwhelmed because I can't think. Obviously, I can't do anything on this until I stop feeling overwhelmed. But you stop feeling overwhelmed once you figure it all out. So, yeah, so that'll be launching in the new year. There'll be a private Facebook group, I think, just
Love it.
for some group coaching. So, yeah, so that's really exciting. And right now, I've got my Facebook group, and I'm doing some lives, and I'll do a master class when the big video class is ready.
And what's the name of that Facebook group if anybody wants to join in?
It is called Team Accomplished. That's accomplished with a T instead of an H.
Love it. So you guys definitely check out Team Accomplished. That way you can, see some of what Jen's doing. She'll be able to post on there of when some of these new courses are coming out because I highly encourage you, you to check them out and work with Jen. She is amazing. I love this woman. Thank you guys so much for being here today, for being part of this conversation. Again, if you want to support what I'm doing, go to buymeacoffee.com/ this fat girl life. Super simple to do. Otherwise, I hope you guys have an amazing day.